So a lot of people ask, what happens during a preliminary audit and what should I expect? Essentially, the duration of the audit is going to be a factor of how large your facility is. And the way we look at how large a facility is based on the energy spend, the annual combined energy spend, gas, electric, water, wastewater, and any industrial gases that you might have on an annualized basis. So typically for a $3 million spend or less per year, we would spend typically a day on site. 3 to 5 million, maybe a day and a half. 5 to 10 million, that probably will take about 2 days, and over $10 million in annual energy spend, it's probably going to be 2 days plus from there, depending upon the facility and the complexity, and also depending upon what kind of return on investment you're looking for. The longer the return on investment that you're willing to accept, then the more things that there are to look at, and conversely, shorter the less. So although some of the quick payback stuff takes a little while to find. But in general, that's what to expect in terms of timeline. And in terms of the actual process that we go through, the first thing that we'll do is coordinate scheduling to get on site. And before we get on site, we'd like to know what sort of personal protective equipment are we going to need. We'd like copies of your utility bills, if at all possible, or a summary spreadsheet, so we know what you're paying for on-peak versus off-peak power, demand, things of that nature. A floor plan, just a general fire escape type floor plan would do, but something to orientate our engineers as to where they are at a given time, how far it is from an engine room to a process, let's say, so they can roughly work out costing as they move through the process, as well as help understand where they are in the facility. So we'll do the initial scheduling, request that information, and then when we get on site, we'll typically start in the morning or sometimes in the afternoon, depending upon travel. But we usually start with a kickoff meeting where we get all the vested people with vested interest. Somebody who's going to want to know, what this is all about, as well as people who are knowledgeable about the facility, have been there a while, know what projects have been done in the past, how the systems typically operate. That's usually an engineering or maintenance manager type, as well as we'd like to get the plant manager involved too, because some of these projects could be significant and have a big impact on their facility. So just getting them in the loop and letting them know who we are and what we're doing. Well, the kickoff meeting will typically last an hour, sometimes up to an hour and a half, but we try to keep it quick, and we try to be as minimally impactful on your facility, and we don't want to take up a lot of your people's time because their time is valuable. So once we do the kickoff meeting, we'll do a quick walkthrough of the entire facility. Again, just to get orientated to the facility. We'll typically start with where the raw materials come into the facility and follow them as they go through the process to the finished goods leaving. And then along the way, where are the major utility engine rooms, the boiler house, the compressed air, stuff like that are feeding into the process. That will typically, depending upon the size, take anywhere from an hour to 3/4 of a day if it's a really large facility. And then after we've done that, we'll want to do that again with somebody who's very knowledgeable about the facility, can show us around. Then once we've done that, we'll be taking notes as we go, and we'll return to those areas that are of special interest, areas where we think that we're going to have a good impact. That can be done with or without an escort. That's up to you. But we don't need to take up your people's time to do that. We're very comfortable working in these types of facilities, and good manufacturing practices and safety are very important to us. So we can be on our own, but we do have certain customers, just for security reasons and things of that nature, want us to have an escort. That escort does not have to be a senior level person if you desire to have one. So there again, we don't want to take up too much of your people's time. But when we go back around the second time, we're going to spend a lot of time just looking at stuff, writing down nameplates, writing down operating information, and really just sitting there and watching how equipment loads and unloads, how it responds. We may visit a place, visit a particular system several times during the day just to see how it's changing throughout the day with the varying load and production and weather-related impacts. So we'll watch all that stuff. Then we typically will have a closeout meeting at the end of the day. Usually that's very brief, just to say, okay, thanks for the tour, and ask any additional questions that might have come up during the visit. maybe some information requests. We try to keep information requests as minimal as possible, but there are some things that the facility just knows and has data to, which we couldn't get otherwise. So it's helpful if we can get that, but again, trying to minimize the impact. Once we've had that closeout meeting, we're done with the audit. Basically, it's typically 6 to 8 weeks for your typical facility between the time that we visit the site and the time that we're able to deliver the draft preliminary assessment report. Once we deliver that draft, within a couple of days to a week or so, you'll have an opportunity to review that draft. We'll set up a conference call with a WebEx, and we'll go through the report in any level of detail that you desire. To talk about the opportunities that were uncovered, talk about any complexities associated with them, what the concepts are, so that we can gain buy-in and an understanding that the things that we are proposing are valid. And then the next step will be to prioritize those opportunities, to take them from a preliminary level to detailed development, and then further on into implementation. So inevitably, we come up with a list of opportunities for most facilities that is more than any facility wants to take on at one time. So that's where we do the prioritization to say, okay, these are our top, this is our top third or our top quarter of the opportunities, and we're ready to move those forward. And that's when we move into detailed development, which I'll talk about in the next video.